Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the JB Show. Before I start today's episode, I just want to let everyone know that I started a new podcast with one of my friends, Adam. It's literally just about hockey. Once a week we record. We just talk about whatever the biggest news in hockey is. And we kind of just sit down, have some fun, debate about it. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Please go take a listen. The first 3 episodes are up. Let us know how it is. If you have any comments, we're always open to suggestions. Please let us know. Now, let's get into the start of the next episode of the JB Show. Now, what am I talking about today? Now, this is a couple days old, probably. Honestly, it could be a week old by the time this episode goes out. But it's a two-parter kind of. We're gonna start with the trade and then go to a signing. Now, July 30th, I get a notification. The Ottawa Senators acquire Ryan Callahan and a 5th-round pick in exchange for Mike Condon and a 6th-round pick. And I go, what? What is this? What is this trade? And you know what? It was quite obvious. The Tampa Bay Lightning are not in an easy situation right now. They got Braden Point, still an RFA. Adam Ernie is still an RFA. They got a bunch of stuff that they got to figure out next off season, and we'll get to one of those things after. But they're in some trouble. That's why I'm gonna make this a two-parter of the trade. Why did the Tampa Bay Lightning make this trade? To get rid of the $5.8 million that Ryan Callahan went against the cap. Now, there's a whole LTIR explanation. I'm not gonna lie, it's so complicated. I don't even understand what half of it is. But if he goes to the Ottawa Senators, it's a whole different story. He's just on the injured reserve, along with Marian Gaborik and Clark MacArthur. On the Tampa Bay Lightning, Mike Condon is now essentially going to be buried in the minors because Curtis McElhinney's their backup. Now that still hits them with a $1.3 million cap hit, and you never know. Maybe they'll find a trade partner, get rid of Mike Condon. Maybe you never know. There's always things that could happen. But purely from a Tampa Bay perspective, this trade was made to get rid of Ryan Callahan and his contract. Not that Ryan Callahan was a bad person to have in the dressing room. It was literally just for cap, because right now they still have $9.3 million in projected cap space. And you know what? I'm not even gonna lie. I wouldn't even be surprised if that was enough to sign both Point and Ernie. But you know what? There's part of me that says, please don't let it be enough. But we're gonna get to something else later that we'll see. Things might be getting interesting for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, now that was a quick explanation because that's a quick reason for a trade. This is where it gets a little bit complicated. Not complicated. It's a bit of a longer explanation. The Ottawa Senators. Why on earth would the Ottawa Senators make a trade like this? And you know what? To be honest, that's kind of quick too. It's a money situation. It's a money situation. They need to hit the cap floor. They needed to. Now they have $15.6 in cap space. Still got to sign Colin White. But there's more to it. There's more to it. Now, Mike Condon, base salary this year, $3 million. Ryan Callahan, base salary this year, $4.7. Now, you're probably thinking that's an extra 1.7 million they just added on for salary. Let me remind you that Ryan Callahan will never play another game in the NHL again. Why? Because of a back injury, supposedly. No, not supposed. That's what the report said. It was some type of injury. It's not a good idea for him to play again. Fair. So this contract is insured. So 80% of the salary is covered by insurance. So what does that come out to? The Ottawa Senators next year will have to pay Ryan Callahan $940,000. Rest covered by insurance. Now, how does that contract look? That's $2 million, just over $2 million. That is not going to be paid. That's a salary that doesn't have to be paid, and that's an extra. That's an extra 3.5 in cap, 3.4 in cap, and it's just hilarious. Let's be honest. Did Mike Condon really have to be included in that deal? No, I don't think so. They could have thrown in the 6th round pick, and since I brought it up, we talk about this in the 2-on-1 podcast with Adam. He was so adamant on why did the Ottawa Senators only get a 5th round pick back. I don't know. And you know what my answer was? No one cares. No one in management, no one in ownership gives a shit. They obviously don't, because a 5th round pick, and they just took on how much salary? Now, yes, I understand they're not paying it, but it's cap space. We just saw the Leafs give up a 1st round pick for essentially $6.25 million in cap space. The Tampa Bay Lightning had to give up a 5th round pick, and then they had to take on 1.3, which is Mike Condon. He's either going to be buried or traded away to somewhere that needs some type of backup goalie, or needs a goalie for the minors. Are you kidding me? You tell me that anyone there cares. How could you look at this situation and say, oh, the Ottawa Senators are really pushing it here? Yeah, they're pushing it for nothing. They're pushing it to lose their team. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Ottawa's losing their team anytime soon. But someone needs to step up, because they need to figure something out here. I'm looking at the trades they made. I'm even looking at what signings they made. Tyler, half of their signings were Leaf signings. Where literally just came from the Leafs. What? Who came in? Tyler Ennis was signed from the Leafs. Ron Hainsey was signed from the Leafs. Who else was brought in that's going to have an impact? And then who was brought in? Who was traded in? Okay, Ryan Callahan's not playing. Artem Anisimov, yeah, you need to fill a center position. Connor Brown, okay, from the Leafs. Nikita Zaitsev from the Leafs. Come on. Now, sure, are they are they NHL players? Yeah, Connor Brown's NHL player, Nikita Zaitsev NHL player, Artem Anisimov NHL player, Ron Hainsey, Tyler Ennis NHL player. Now I understand it's Ottawa. Maybe it's not the most desirable destination in the world. But when you're calling Tampa Bay, let's also remember you're giving them cap space, and you're giving them cap space at a time where they need it desperately, and all you get is a 5th round pick. I'm sorry, do you really care that you have to pay Mike Condon $3 million this year for 1 year? And his cap hit is 2.4, as if that mattered to your team. If that meant bringing someone in from that trade, then do it. Bring in a prospect. Bring in something better than a 5th round pick. I'm not going to lie, it's kind of disgusting. The Tampa Bay Lightning, let me remind you, they also have an extra 1st round pick either this year or next year, because they gave JT Miller to the Vancouver Canucks for a 1st, a 3rd, and Marek Bazanik. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. All they got. If I'm an Ottawa Senators fan, honestly, I'm not happy. No, that it's great. I'm looking at the picks they have. 2 1st round picks next year, 3 2nd round picks, 3 2nd round picks the year after. Like, they have a bunch of picks, and it's not, you know what, they have players who are coming up. Josh Norris, who else? Rudolph Balcers, Alex Formington, Vitaly Abramov, Philip Chlapik. There you have the players. Eric Brandstrom. You have players that are coming up. You have players that are coming up. There are players on your reserve list. You have Jacob Bernard-Docker on your reserve list. Are you, like, but a 5th round pick? Come on, man. That's just upsetting. And for a team, especially for a management team, an owner that said we are going for a rebuild. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who to blame. I don't know if I blame Pierre Dorian. I don't know if I blame Eugene Melnyk, but something needs to change. This is the time where you know what? When I sign Conn Smith, which will probably be a smaller end contract anyways, hey, does anyone want to give me their crappy players? I just want picks and prospects. Someone with a big... you know what? If I'm Ottawa, I call Tampa again in 6 months, closer to the trade deadline, and say, hey, do you think any of Andrei Palatyanik or Tyler Johnson or Alex Killorn would be interested in coming to Ottawa? Will you give us one of those guys? I don't know. Someone needs to do something. You know what? Maybe Tampa's not the option because those guys are actually good. But a team with crappy players, with big cap hits, in a really shitty situation. You call them up and say, hey, we'll take player X plus, and you give us something else. And then we'll give you a pick. Instead of me seeing you take Ryan Callahan for a 5th round pick and for Mike Condon and a 6th round pick. Oh, I don't know how to say this enough. I've literally been talking for like 15 minutes just complaining about this trade. And I can't go on any longer. So I'm going to get to the second part of this podcast. And it simply just pertains to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Andrei Vasilevskiy signs a big boy extension at 8 years, $76 million. So it comes out to $9.5 per year. Now it's an interesting one. Again, more than half of his total salary is coming in signing bonus. Oh, I don't know how they're going to do this, but I know they're somehow going to do this. The Tampa Bay Lightning are going to sign Brayden Point, and next year still have the core of their team. And you know why that's going to happen? It's because of teams like Ottawa, who are willing to give up nothing and take on everything. That's what's going to happen. I've gone over this in a podcast before, what they need to do just to sign Brayden Point. This was before the Ryan Callahan trade. So they've got rid of Ryan Callahan and then signed Andrei Vasilevskiy. So what's next? What do they have to do? It's the same stuff. Trade one of these 4 players, if not 2 of these 4 players, will be gone by the trade deadline. No, what am I saying? By the trade deadline or by July 1st, max. Andre Palat, who's making $5.3 million. Yanni Gourde, who just started his $5.1 million per year contract. Tyler Johnson, who makes $5 million for the next 5 years. And Alex Killorn, who makes $4.45 for the next 4. I can't guarantee. I believe that one of those, if not 2 of those players, will be traded. And I'm going to be honest, I think it was kind of a smart move to get Vasilevskiy done now. And let me explain why. Once the Brayden Point signing is announced, which it will be soon, hopefully, the Tampa Bay Lightning now have just under a year, a full year, to deal with this situation. Julien Brisebois, general manager, and his team have almost a year to figure out how are we going to fit Vasilevskiy and Point, plus Kucherov and Stamkos, plus Hedman and McDonough, past this season. That's quite a lot of time. There are many things they can do, and it's quite impressive. Now, I'm not going to go through what they can do because I already went over it. One or 2 of those players are gone by next year. I'm looking at this team. There's no one else that interests me that says, oh, they're getting traded. Kucherov, untouchable. Steven Stamkos, untouchable. Cedric Paquette, 1.6. Okay, sure, he could be included in a trade with one of those 4 players, but not a big impact. Cirelli, Matthew Joseph, and Martel, no impact. Shattenkirk just signed. I'll do an episode on Kevin Shattenkirk soon. unless he's outstanding and they can get a thing, but he has a no trade clause. I don't think he's moved. Braden Coburn, I doubt he's moved. There's no one with a significant cap hit on this team that will be traded, that will do anything to help the Tampa. I mean, that will do something to significantly help the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, unless they can magically do something, the Tampa Bay Lightning now have just under a year to figure out Braden Point and figure out how to keep all their players intact. All their players in Tampa Bay. And to me, that is quite impressive. I'm not going to, to be honest, if I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, I'm not complaining because they're projected again to have 120 points. And I promise you, this team, it's not going to look different when the playoffs hit. This team will know what hit them from last year. I don't think this team is getting swept in round one again. They understand what happens in the playoffs. They understand. This isn't a Mickey Mouse League, House League game for them anymore. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, for the second year in a row, at least, the Tampa Bay Lightning are your team to watch out for once again. Thank you for listening to another episode of The JB Show. Please subscribe on any platform you're using. Continue to listen to the podcast. Send me a message. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Let me know if you have any suggestions. You want me to talk about something in particular? Let me know. Thank you.